Welcome back to part two of my life in America or coming to America series. Actually, I should have said that in the first video. This is coming to America series. In this video, we're going to talk about what life was like that first year of living in America, all the confusion that I went through, how I missed an opportunity to go to one of the best universities, which is Texas A&M, how I left a job after one day. How I got into an accident 2 days in a row. Girl, what are you doing? Let's get into it. Let's get into it.
In the midnight glow where the stars align, we lose ourselves in the rhythm divine. Underneath the sky painted with dreams, we're chasing the
Hi there, my name is Raimo. If it's your first time seeing me, my content is about motherhood, lifestyle, faith, fun, and life in America as a Kenyan. And as I said, I'm doing a series about my life in America because I want to hit all the aspects of my tagline. You know, everything that I am about, I want to kind of deep dive into it and just have a little story time. If you haven't already watched part one, this video is not going to make sense to you. So please pause, go back to part one, and then come back. But I'll give you a little, very quick snapshot of what part one was about. Part one was me just talking about how I got to America, the visa that got me here, the process, how long it took, and how we got to America. Okay, so if you're gonna be able to go, if you're not able to watch that back, I hope it all makes sense to you. So let's get into it. I just landed in America. I'm living with my parents, and this is the first time that I'm living with both my parents at the same time. A little backstory: my dad came to America December of 1995 or 1996, I think 95, and I was born in 1991, so I was only 4 years old. So I don't have a very good recollection of ever living with my dad. Now, I have come here, I'm 23 years old. 23 years old. I am an adult. We have not established a relationship, but we are going to start somewhere. We start somewhere. So all the culture shock starts hitting me, and me, I had one thing in mind. Several things in mind. As I told you in the previous video, I had graduated with a bachelor's in urban and regional planning. I had zero interest in continuing with that field. Zero. Maybe something related to it, but not urban planning. But tell me why, when we first came to America, the first Sunday, my mom and I wanted to go to a Kenyan church that we had heard of. There's a friend of my mom that, kind of led us through and took us there. And I met some people. Again, I don't want to really get into the weeds of it because it's going to take too long. But there was a couple of people that were trying to do a project, and they were here. And when they met me and they heard my degree, they were very interested in getting to know me and all that stuff. So they kind of made an investment, and they were going to Texas A&M. There was a presentation. So this two people had a connection with the dean of I guess I'm not very sure of the department's name, but it had everything to do with landscape engineering. It had everything to do with urban planning and city planning, or all that stuff, like just kind of like built environment stuff, right? And there was an opportunity, like they were very kind of invested in me getting into that school, because then they would have kind of a point person to be there and help with their project. A part of me really, really considered this because it was going to give me an opportunity to do my master's. And it is the first Sunday after I've come to America that all this is happening. The first week, I am still confused. I don't know what I want to do with my life. I just know me and urban planning. Different was up. Different was up. Then there's this opportunity here, and everybody I'm talking to, they're like, "It's Texas A&M, girl. It's Texas A&M." One of the things that disqualified that opportunity for me was I was brand new in America, barely a month old. And this opportunity was going to move me to College Station. If you know where Texas A&M is, it's in College Station, which is like 4 or 5 hour drive. I may be overestimating it, but I'll put it over here once when I'm editing. I'll share with you the exact distance. Whatever that distance was, I didn't feel like it was the right time for me to be away from my parents like that in a whole new country. I don't know anyone where I'm going. Like, it just felt like I just panicked and I was like, this is not the right time for me. Plus, I kind of don't want to do this. But in my mind, I was like, you gotta push yourself to do something because this will set you up for success. So I really, really wrestled with that idea. In my mind, I'm like, God, is this an opportunity you're putting in front of me that I'm refusing to take? Or is this a test? Like, God, there's so much happening. Like, am I going to regret the rest of my life that I didn't take this opportunity? And I can tell you right now, I have never regretted not taking that opportunity a day in my life. I've never regretted. The peace I felt when I said no. Anyway, let's get back. So that opportunity went like that. I mean, I was already in communications with the dean, like the process it was going to take to get me started and everything. But I just didn't feel peace at all about going through that process. So I just respectfully told them, thank you so much for the opportunity, but in the meantime, I just need to stay with my parents for now. So yeah, that ended. But then remember, I came from Kenya where I was like a hustler. I had some chums for myself. I was working and I was hustling my two side jobs here with social media marketing and Safaricom and all those things, right? So when I come to America, I'm like, I need a job, like tomorrow. I need a job. And one of the things I had said, I'm going to come in America and work and work and work and make a lot of money and go back to Kenya. Because remember, I didn't want to come to America. So this was my goal, I'm going to work and go and take myself back. I just like start a project and just move back. But also one of the big thing in 2015, one of my very, very good friends and sisters was having a wedding and I was in the wedding in June of that year. And I was determined to be there in that wedding. And that is when I was tested. Oh my God, was I tested? Because once I got when I first came to America, again, I told you with the visa, it comes with a permanent residency card. I don't know why the processing of that card was taking so long. Me, I thought it would be in the mail in the next 1 month, but it was not. The only thing I got was my social security card, and I can't travel with that. So I don't have it in my visa time frame had already passed because you're given 6 months to travel from the time you get the visa. I remember I had gotten it in 2014 August and I traveled in January, so the time had passed. There was no using my visa anymore. I was determined to go for this wedding, partially because of my friend and two because there was a guy in that wedding that I was like, something is happening. I was determined I have to go for this wedding because I need to see this person again. Anyway, so I said the wedding is in June, so we're in February, right? Because I landed on the 29th of January. So I'm waiting for for Nini. It's not coming. I'm waiting, it's not coming. And I'm like, I'm starting to panic. And I'm like, I really need to travel. So I started praying. I remember this time because all my friends have been taken away. And again, I said, it's like, I don't know what happened. As soon as I came to America, it's like all those connections and friendships and everything that I thought I had, silence, crickets. And I'm not blaming anybody. Nothing went sour, nothing went south. It just went quiet, unexplainable. Very, very few friends have I left or have remained since that time. And they're just like 3 girls that I still am close to, that were part of that friend group, which is fine. Things happen, but it was kind of like an immediate. And I started seeking the Lord very, very seriously around this time. Again, because I'm alone, I have time in my hands. There's nothing to do. I'm not working. I'm not studying. There's nothing to do. I got nothing but time. Nothing but time in my hands. So I started really, really seeking the Lord at that time. So many revelations started happening to me. I was seeking the Lord mainly because I wanted my green card. But while I was seeking the Lord for that, the biggest revelation of my life came in. Again, my channel is also about faith. So let me interject here real quick and say the verse that changed me spiritually, I had read so many times, but it didn't really make sense, was Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and its righteousness, and everything else will be added unto you. And God just reminded me how I had been running away from everything else and really just seeking Him for everything else but Him. My relationship with Him had become so strained. Yes, I was born again, but I was so far away from Him. I read and listened to the sermon by Heather Lindsay called The Runaway Bride. That book, it wrecked me. It literally wrecked me. The Runaway Bride, that brought me back. And so I began to get to a place where I was so close to God, and I was just telling God, you know what, I just want you. If it is you, if it's in your will for me to travel to Kenya in June, I will travel. If it is not in your will, it is fine. I'm going to be fine because me and you, we have this closeness. And I really started seeking the Lord for just to know God, seeking His kingdom. And I told God everything else will be added unto me. Then, one day, my friend, a lady that I had met in church, came to visit me. And this is very, very close to June. This is like May. Almost, yeah, sometime beginning of May, and my green card is not here. When you go to check through the status, there's no information. And I'm like, I need to travel. So my friend came and and we're talking about it, and I'm just so disappointed. And she's like, you know, you can go to the USCIS office and tell them you need to travel, and they can give you a temporary, kind of like a temporary permanent card. I think it's temporary I-55 or something like that. I don't know those things very well, but you can get a temporary like stamp on your passport that shows your permanent resident card is in processing, so that can allow you to travel. I was like, you mean so? Here? Here I am suffering. But you know what? Who God is? God was like, I'm not going to give you that information until you understand that you need to seek me first and not a green card. You need to seek me first and not anything else. And I told God, you know what? I will go through this process. If I get it, I get it. If I don't, you are still God. Like, that is the point that God had gotten me to. So I went to the website, I scheduled an appointment, and again, time was running out. Time was really running out. I got an appointment a few days to when I should have traveled. Got an appointment. And as we were driving, I'm just telling God, you know what? And we are running late. And I'm just in traffic seated. My dad is driving me, and I'm just like, God, whew. If this works out, I'll be so happy. But if it doesn't, it is still fine. You have taught me the biggest lesson in this season, which is to seek you first. And I think that is the biggest gain I'll ever get in this season. We get there, and I'm asked, how can we help you? And long story short, bam, I got my stamp on my passport. Bam! And I'm telling you, we head home. And as soon as we got home, who is my dad? On the computer, a flight mode, da 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 da, bam. I was out the following week. Literally, I think not even the following week. A few days after that, I traveled to Kenya, and I'm telling you, I was so like, I I can't even explain it. I was gone for a short period of time, but it gave me what it needed to give me. So anyway, this is all 2015. So the wedding is in June. So I come back to America, and now life has to move on. I'm determined to get, no, by this time around, I had already started a job. I didn't tell you. I told you guys I had come purposely to find a job. So as soon as I came, I actually started looking for jobs. So in April, yes, in April, I got my first job, which was working at Target. My first job in America was Target. Me, I was convinced I don't want to go anything on the route of nursing. I did not want to do that. Just because I know myself, I would not do a good job. Not to knock the profession or not to knock anyone who does it. Just myself, I knew I didn't want to do it. So I got my job, first job at Target. I despised that job so much because I had to wake up at 3 a.m., 3 a.m. every day. And so that I could be at work by 5 a.m. I know. Imagine 5 a.m. every day. And then the hardest part of this, the hardest part about it was my dad was working double that time. He would come home so tired at around 11 p.m. and then he would sleep for a couple of hours and then I had to wake him up to drive me to work because at that time I still couldn't drive and I didn't have my permit. And this went on for about a month. April, May, June, actually about 4 months this went on because I started driving in August. But yo, those were tough months. First of all, it's in the summer. So he would drive me to work. My shift would end at 12 and I had to take now the train and the bus home, which would take a good hour and a half there, about almost 2 hours. Actually, it was about 2 hours in total because the train itself was about an hour and then the buses. Hey, my friend, that was a tough season, but we made it. So when you see people here, when you see people here in America, because when they first come, please let them be. Just let them be and just let them be. So anyway, me, I worked at Target April, May, June, July, August. Um, and then September came and I was like, okay, no, something gotta give. Something gotta give me. I'm not doing this job anymore. I started looking, especially because they really wanted me to work on Sunday. So I'm looking for a job that is Monday through Friday. I got another job for valeting. I don't even know what reason I found a job. The job is valeting at I don't even remember what it was. It's like at a hospital. So I went there the first day. This job, I got hired on a Thursday. Friday, I was told to come in and just like a full day observe and see, kind of like train under other people. That Friday was the most miserable day of my life. I was like, what am I doing here? First of all, the uniform was just not giving, you know? By the time I got into my car, and again, I've only worked one day. By the time I got back in the car to drive home, I was D4 done. I was done. No more, no more, no more. I went that weekend, I went and thought about my life, and I was like, we're not doing this anymore. But I have to find something else. It's either I'm in school or I'm working. I know that without even being told that by my dad. I know that for sure. You're either in school or you're working. Nobody needed to tell me that. I told myself that. So that Saturday, I decided to go because I was starting to have. No, actually, I had this passion about spa and hair and salon and all that stuff. I've had that passion for a very long time. Till today, anything salon, anything spa, is still in me, and I still believe. And let me put it out here. Let me put it out here, not for the universe, for God. I'm speaking it into existence. One day, I'm going to own a salon and spa, maybe here in America or in Kenya. I'm going to own something. I am going to one day. I've put it out there, God, so make it happen. So I knew I wanted to get into that world. So I went looking for schools. I got a school and I decided to sign up. So I signed up, and that Monday morning, that Sunday, I wrote an email to the people that had hired me. I'm like, sorry, I'm not coming in on Monday. So I only worked for one day and I was out. So Monday, around that time is when I now started school, went to school for skincare. I wanted to do both skin and hair, that is just the whole cosmetology and not just aesthetics. Um, but there's a part of me was like, okay, I'd love to know hair, but I really, again, this was my reasoning back then. I've grown up since then. I just did not want to do like Caucasian hair. I just wanted to do black hair, but they were not just gonna teach me black hair. I was gonna have to learn, cutting hair, like using clippers, or men and everything. I just was not interested with all of that. So I decided, you know what, let me stick to skincare. As much as it wasn't really much of my interest, hair was my interest, but I was like, okay, let's just do skincare and see where this takes us. So I went into skincare school for 6 months. I wasn't really working. Thankfully, so thankful to my dad that he was, you know, this time around I was driving. He got me a car. He was footing the bill because I wasn't working. But on the side, I was doing hair. My side hustle was always doing hair. So I'm really good with my hands. I do hair. Like, by the way, shameless plug, I installed my own micro locks. I did all this by myself, by the way. All this I did by myself. So I did hair on the side just to float by, just have a little play money. But for 6 months, graduated and then immediately got a job in 2016, and I worked that job for about 2 years. And now here's where kind of like the story goes a little bit faster, because I've shared a lot, especially from 2017 when I met my now husband. We've shared a lot of that part of the story, but I'll continue kind of sharing how my career has progressed in school and all that stuff in this video. If you want me to do a different video about how I met my husband, my dating life in America, if you want that video, will have to be requested. If it's not requested, I am telling you, I'm not gonna tell you if you don't. If nobody requested, we will keep it that way. But this was just about my life in America, just kind of finding my way. So this is now my third job. I don't know if to consider the job that I worked one day as a job. I don't know if I really should consider it as a job, but now, after I've graduated in skincare school, I have now my first kind of like official job as a licensed esthetician. Esthetician is just skincare. I really loved this career for me. I loved it. I loved the tips. I loved getting to know people. I loved just it was something that was really fulfilling for me. The only thing is you really had to have a lot of clients to make good money. Um, and there were days like my paycheck wasn't always the same. My paycheck was fluctuating a lot. But it is what it is. I was a good 2 years, so I did this from May. I remember it was May 2016. I did this all the way 2017 and 2018 September. I felt led to start my own business because ultimately in some of these service industries, if you want to make good money, then having your own thing, you make more money because now when you're employed, your employer takes the biggest chunk of the money and you get some of the money from the service. They keep more of the money, but yes, you keep all your tips. But now you can imagine if per facial, the client would pay say $50 per facial. From that facial, I would get 20 like 18 20 between 18 and $20 there about. That's what I would get, and then now plus the tip. So per facial, I would most of the times make about between 30 and $40, depending on how much tip you get. But now imagine if you set your own prices. Say you the same, just set the facial about the same price. Call it $50, which is lowballing it a lot. Set the facial at $50, and then plus this person's gonna give you a tip. So instead of making $30, $40, you're making $70 plus dollars. So it makes more sense to be a sole proprietor if you're in service industry. So this is the math I was doing, and I really wanted to do something for myself, and I'd seen other people doing so. But Kiliniramba, and you know what? I'm not gonna go into that story of how Kiliniramba, because I went into details on this video here. on our Maju Diaries podcast. So please go and watch this video and you will hear everything that happened, how it happened, how I lost my job because I opened my own business. Still a little bit salty till today, but you know what? We moved on. So I was let go before I was ready. Because my plan was I'm gonna keep doing my job. I'm gonna keep doing my business until my business is stable enough. That's because I'm a responsible chick. I know you don't just drop one thing like that. You don't drop your main job, you know. But I was significantly reducing my hours, and my manager was like, "What's going on with this girl?" Anyway, I was okay with it. So I've been pushed to do my own business. So 2018 September, I remember that day after I was fired on a Saturday, and on Sunday that day I went to church. I was sobbing. I sobbed and sobbed and sobbed, and I was like, God, I don't know what I'm gonna do here. Like, you gotta take care of me. And it's like I was living with my parents, so it wasn't that. But by this time, my dad was like, "You're a big girl now. So some of these bills have been taking care of you. You got it." At least I wasn't being charged for rent, but I had my car note and I had my phone bill that I was paying. What are the bills? I think there was like some credit cards. I don't even know what else where my money was going to, but um, again, I wasn't earning too much. But anyway, so I went into business by myself and I did that for up until 2019. I think I was in business for like 6, 7 months or about 8 months before I called it quits. It was a tough season, y'all, because I was paying rent of $200 every week. The place I had rented, $200 a week, bro. Sometimes I couldn't have a client for a week or one client or two clients. So the juggling between trying to market myself and build a clientele and I still have like recurring bills to pay. Don't forget, I still have my car note and phone bill to pay. And the car note was about it was $475, and I don't forget my phone bill is about $75. So that's over $500 that I need to make on top of this rent. Yeah, the math wasn't mathing. So I started doing Uber and Lyft, and that's around that time is when I was really doing Uber and Lyft. Thankfully, the car that I was driving then was a bigger car, so it was kind of getting me more money, but it still wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. Like, I was literally living paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. By this time, I had met my now husband. We were dating. Several times he had to come through for me to help me pay rent for my booth. Several times. And that is when I realized, you know what, Warimo, we are now getting into an area in 2019. Our relationship is serious. We got engaged in November. And so we are planning a wedding. We are planning a life together. My sources of income, it's just not gonna work. Plus, my husband was not having it with me being an Uber driver, just for security reasons. Like, even for me, I'm like, man, it's just not. It just wasn't giving me security financially and physically. Thankfully, nothing ever happened to me. Thank God. It sustained me when it could, because I could get some money to move by, because I would be riding, and if anybody calls me for an appointment, I would just end my rides, go do my appointment, and then go back to Uber. But y'all, it was tough. It was tough. By the time I decided to call it quit and close my business and go back into employment, I realized this was a very good job opportunity. It just wasn't the right time. It was not the right time. And it still pains me, because I feel like I would have, if I had stuck on, it would have been really good. By now I would have had a good clientele, but all is well. I'm on the path that I was meant to be. So anyway, 2019, closed down the business, and then found a job. This is now my fourth job in America. I worked at a spa. So Nordstrom has a spa. So it's called Spa Nordstrom. But I didn't go in as an esthetician, because at this time I'm just kind of like disappointed with, skincare. I'm not sure that I want to get in there. I'm still trying to navigate my life and see, do I want to be in the room or do I want to be in the front, and kind of try to pursue admin management stuff. So I got a job as like a front desk person in the spa. Doesn't pay all that well, but again, I'm living with my parents. I'm just barely making enough for my car note, but now we're starting to plan our wedding, so we need more money. So it just wasn't. It was fine, but it wasn't really all that good. So come 2020, COVID happens, and we are furloughed. If you know, yeah, that's the time we were all furloughed. So that job ended like that. Probably was not gonna go back there, but anyway, it happened like that. Furloughed, lost my position and everything. But while we were in COVID, me, I'm always very enterprising. Like me, let me tell you, I'm either working or in business or hustling. Like I'm always trying to make money. Like that's been me throughout college. I mean, throughout college, even let me tell you, even when I was in primary school, and when I was in boarding school from class 6 to class 8, I would do people's hair and they would pay me with bread. Because bread was such a rare commodity, they would pay me with bread. We used to get 3 slices of bread every morning, and I would tell them, I'll do your hair, pay me with bread. So you can either give me all your 3 slices in one day and forget about it, or you give me 1 slice every day for 3 days. I've always been very entrepreneurial. Me and Mogekoyo, mimi ni wa murima kabisa. We don't joke. So anyway, while we're in COVID, I realized, yeah, COVID is not going to be 2 weeks until we go back to work. I gotta figure something out. So no, before even COVID happened, actually, while I was in this job, I started looking for other opportunities. So I had applied for a job at Goldman Sachs, and if you know Goldman Sachs, you know. I don't even need to say anything. I had applied for a job at Goldman Sachs, and this time COVID hadn't really, like, because this was in February. Yes, it was in February, beginning of March, because that was just before I had traveled to Kenya for my brother's wedding. I had went for the interview and I got the job, and then the job was supposed to start when I come back again. While I was getting this job, it was supposed to be all in person. I think it was in a call center. It was a call center job. It was gonna pay me more money. It was the most money I had ever earned yet in America. So yes, absolutely, let's go for it. So again, by the time I was interviewing for this job, it was going to be in person because COVID wasn't existent beginning of March. But anyway, I go to Kenya, I come back, and then COVID happens, we are furloughed, and in April, so the entire time in March, they're doing background checks. They do thorough background checks. By the way, they say Goldman Sachs, they employ 3%. Is it 3% of all the applications? So getting a job at Goldman Sachs is actually a big deal. And I'm grateful that I had gotten that job. But now, while April is coming and the job is starting, they're moving into a virtual work environment. So the training and the job is going to be done virtually. When I'll tell you the anxiety, the training was amazing. The training we did with a specified person telling us, the products, everything and all that stuff, it was good. I got everything. But the day we now started like actual work, like picking up phone calls, the stress that caught me. Hey, yawa. I did that for 3 days. I was like, nah, I can't do this anymore, because it was just such a stressful time, because everybody has just been moved to a virtual environment. Everybody is learning how to work virtually. So now I am being asked to not to monitor, like to listen in into a call. Someone who's working virtually. My computer, it was horrible. It was such a horrible thing. And when I was told to like do my first phone call, like pick up a phone call for the first time, like help a client, it just went so bad. It went so bad. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore. It just went so bad. I remember I quit my job in between the day. I literally quit my job. And unfortunately, that came to an end because it was mentally strenuous. It was mentally strenuous. It was a very good job, paying well. I was gonna be working from home, but it just wasn't giving what I wanted. I don't want to work inbound, outbound calls for call center. It wasn't it. Thankfully, by the grace of God, I don't know how God did it, but He sure did. One, first of all, Goldman Sachs, your benefits are due immediately. For most companies, you have to wait for 90 days for them to be due. They are due immediately. So all your PTO is due immediately. Your benefits, insurance and everything due immediately. This is the first time, by the way, I had a job in America that I got an insurance card from my employer. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm insured. I never had insurance before in any other of my jobs by employer. Anyway, so but even if I quit my job, they still paid me out. They paid me out for the time I've been there, and then I had already amassed 14 days of PTO, so they paid me out my PTO time and all the benefits. Like I got like so many other paychecks after I had quit the job. It was a blessing, which carried me over. Because I think a week or two after that, I got another job now again during COVID. Because actually, it wasn't even because my job at the doctor's office started in May. Again, I started this job in April. Did training for 2 weeks, and within the first week of being on the floor, I quit. So it literally took a week, took 1 week, and I got a job at the doctor's office. This is May 2019. I'm so grateful for this job because, man, it came at the right time. Again, this is now more money than the Goldman Sachs job. No, it was actually a little bit less, but it was a way better position. It was in person. It was at a doctor's office. I loved working there. Loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. I worked there for a year until I was like, okay. So while I was working there, I started school. I went back to school. So 2019 May, and then we got married in 2020 June. So when we got married, I decided to go back to school. So while I was in school, there was a career fair. And this is in June 20, this is like May 2020 now. 2021, sorry. I'm sorry. I worked there 2019 to, was it 2019 or 2020? I'm sorry. I worked at the doctor's office because this is COVID year. My bad. May 2020, because we got married in June 2020. Yes, it was just a month before my wedding that I started my new job. So I worked there from May 2020 to June 2021. So again, I started school in 2021. Towards the end of 2020 is when I started school. I applied for college, and because I was like, okay, now I kind of have a clear mind of what I want to do in America. It became so clear to me. Until now, it's quite clear what I want to do in America with my career, and I'm glad it took me this long. From 2015 to 2020 is when I actually figured out what I want to do with my life. And it was after trying and testing several things that I figured out, okay, this is the path I want to take. And I'm glad I did because I'm so now super contented with it. So I went back to school, applied for college, got accepted, but I'm starting now, kind of like starting from ground zero. Instead of pursuing my master's, I just want to do another bachelor's. So I started school. And while I'm in school, they have a career fair. So me, I attend a career fair and I meet my current job now. They were hiring, and there was an internship position I'm telling you, it's just God. This one lady, she's no longer with our account, but when I met her, she's a big person. Her position was quite big. When I met her, there was just a connection with her. Again, I had no prior experience. I'm still in college. I'm still going to school. She just looked at me and she told me, I think this position is right for you. In my mind, I'm like, first of all, you don't know me, I don't know you, but then it's an internship. Psh, whatever. And then of course, it's a career fair. There's very many different companies. So I'm just walking along. But I just felt there was a connection I felt with that lady. I felt like we are right for each other. And then for some reason we met in the bathroom, and she was like, "Hey, here's my number." She gave me her card, and she was like, "Here's my number. Give me a call. I believe you're the right person for this position." And what she told me much later is as soon as she met me, her search was over, because she had tried to hire for this position for a long time. And she wasn't, but as soon as she met me, she knew I was the person for the job. I was like, okay, and this video is getting very long. Let me end it here because I'm about to finish. So anyway, I started my internship at this amazing company in 2021 that I've been working till today. Of course, my internship ended. God made a way. God made such a way. And this internship was paying me more than I had ever gotten in America. I moved, Kai, when you're being paid $20-something an hour, I had never heard someone paying me over $20 an hour. Hey, and an internship. And I made the biggest leap of faith there, because I chose to leave my for sure job at the doctor's office for a 3-month internship. That I was praying to God, you know what, after this 3 months internship, I prayed that, God, please confirm for me a job. And who is God? He did it for me. I'm so grateful to God that my internship ended and I transitioned straight into the position that I am now, that I've been working for the past 3.5 years. I can't believe it's already been 3.5 years. So in terms of school, I did school like I have almost about a year of work done already, but I got pregnant and them kids have not let me be able to go back to school. But once these kids are big and they're good enough, I'm going back to school and getting my degree. That is for sure, because I have to prove it to myself, not to anybody else, to myself, that I can do it, and I will do what I said I will do. I'll finish my degree. So yeah, that is, in long story short, I've tried to really compress it, but I really do hope that you enjoyed this story time. If you have any questions, I don't mind sharing about my life, but there I'll dig into it, I'll deep dive into it, we'll talk about it, we'll get into it. So yeah, that is how I've transitioned, all the jobs I've done, how my career has progressed, all the decisions I've made in America so far. Maybe not all, but some. But in terms of my work, my job, and my career, if you have any specific questions or anything you want me to get into in terms of life in America as a Kenyan, I really want to give value to people who are intending to or looking forward to moving to America. Specifically, I'm not sure about the UK or other countries, but if you're planning a move to America, and if you have any questions, please comment down below, and I will try my very, very best to answer those questions for you. So that being said and done, if you have not yet joined the family that is growing, please do join the family. Join us so we can grow bigger and bigger and bigger, so that I can also give you more and more and more amazing content, right? If you like this kind of storytelling, please tell me. I think I like talking, and this is why I said I like talk. I just like to put a camera there and talk. And that is why I started a podcast. That is why we started a podcast, because I like talking. So if you like this kind of style, please let me know, and I'm more than glad to dive into any topics that you want, specifically about life in America. So please join the family, subscribe, comment, like this video, so that YouTube can push it out to more people. I will see you guys on the next video. Might be a vlog, might be a story time, you never know, but you will get a video from me every week this year, God willing. Okay, bye bye.